Hello, this is Professor Bittinger. This week you will be reading Chapter 17, and I have created several short video lectures pertaining to the environmental economics, politics, and worldviews. First, let's start with key terms. There's a list on the screen of key terms. As you're going through the chapter, pay attention to some of these key terms, especially those that are highlighted in green. In your textbook, you read a core case study regarding the United States, China, and sustainability. This graphic provides a better understanding of the ecological footprint comparison between these two countries. Both the U.S. and China lead the world in resource consumption as well as in production. The United States experienced rapid economic growth from 1940 to 1970. Along with this rapid economic growth came severe pollution of air, water, and land. A citizen-based environmental movement occurred in the 1970s with increased public awareness and citizens demanding an end to the environmental pollution. As a result, the United States passed many environmental laws in the late 1970s and 1980s that led to environmental improvements. If you compare the data chart, the U.S. has a higher overall ecological footprint than China on a per-country basis. However, China has almost 4 times the amount of people than the United States. If you look in the bottom right corner of your screen, the U.S. has 326 million people. China has 1.38 billion people. So what does this mean? It means that each person in the U.S. uses far more resources per person than any other country in the world. China may have a high ecological footprint, but it is because of the large population versus the amount of resource used per person. In fact, in China, citizens consume 8 times less than the U.S. citizens on a per-person basis for the ecological footprint. And you can see that in the chart. In U.S., on a per capita ecological footprint basis, you would need 9.7 hectares per person to provide the resources and sustain the ecological demand from that population. In China, you would need 1.6 hectares per person to sustain the ecological demand from that population, on average. If everyone in the world used resources equal to what the average American uses, we would need 5 planet Earths to sustain them. Now, China also experienced rapid economic growth between 1970 and the year 2000, when the country shifted to a more market-based economy. This economic growth has caused severe environmental problems, and it's now ranked as having the second largest ecological footprint worldwide. So, when we talk about environmental sustainability, we need to discuss the economy and the economics of it. So, economics does deal with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. There are market-based economies where buyers and sellers interact competitively for these goods and services, and there are free market economies where decisions are based on supply, demand, and price. If you've taken an economics class, you're well familiar with the following 2 principles. When demand exceeds supply, the prices will go up. When supply exceeds demand, the prices will go down. The economics is an important factor in understanding sustainability and how we can make improvements to our economy in relation to sustainability. 3 terms that I would like you to be familiar with. The first is natural capital, which we've defined in Chapter 1, but it is defined on the screen in front of you. But let's look at human capital and manufactured capital. Human capital is the labor and the skills of people that go into producing goods and services. Manufactured capital is the machinery, materials, and factories that are required to create and process the natural resources. This diagram depicts high throughput economies. Most of the world's more developed countries rely on continually increasing the flow of matter and resources to promote economic growth. Now first, let's define economic growth. That is the increase in capacity of a nation, city, or company to provide goods and services. High throughput economy boosts economic growth by increasing the flow of resources, goods, and services. This high throughput converts large quantities into waste and pollution as well. So looking at this diagram, you have the inputs from the environment, high quality energy, high quality matter. Then the system throughputs, you have a high waste economy because we're pushing through a lot of goods and products. And the outputs are waste and pollution.